Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, we're going to dive deep into some of these game twos that occurred in the NBA playoffs over the last 2 days, including opening with Milwaukee, Indiana, and Phoenix in Minnesota. We'll also talk about the crazy ending in New York, in addition to the crazy game winner from Jamal Murray last night in Denver. Then we're going to do some NBA draft stuff. I'm really excited just to talk a little bit, maybe 20 minutes at the end, about my top 100 board. Bryce has prepared questions, so we're going to dive into that. And he's going to let me know where I'm wrong. So I'm super excited. Until then, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam, man? I'm just trying to keep up with everything. You know, we got all these NBA playoff games. We got game winners. We got blowouts. We got all this stuff. We have injuries, guys back from injuries. We have guys not staying in the, Janai Broom is staying in school. KJ Evans is staying in school. We got people transferring. Omaha Blue, committed to Wake Forest 15, 20, 30 minutes ago or something like that. It's madness right now. There's always something to talk about in our world, Sam.
There's legitimate basketball madness happening. It feels like every single minute of the day right now. It's just way too much to keep track of. But we're going to try our best here. Let's open with the Pacers-Bucks game that just went and ended, right? Yep. The Pacers, even this series, 1-1, 125-108. There was a report earlier today, I forget who it was from, saying that Giannis may be a little bit closer than what people thought. This series will be a real difficult endeavor. We knew for Milwaukee without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tonight, I thought showcased a lot of why that's the case. So what I thought that Milwaukee did really well in the first game and almost kind of jumped the Pacers, and we talked about this on the last episode, was they really mixed and matched pick and roll coverages at a really high level. And I thought that they confused that space a little bit for Tyrese Halliburton. And that's in addition to his own passiveness. Yeah. Also what made him be a little bit more passive in game one in a big Milwaukee win where they were up 30 at one point. It felt like it was a huge, enormous victory. In this game, I thought that the Pacers were fantastic in adjusting to what the Bucks presented to them in game one and had a great plan of attack.
Yeah, I mean, I thought what I saw, and I was kind of going back and forth between games, but every time I turned the game on, Miles Turner was playing really well out of the short roll. I'd watch for a few minutes and he'd catch and make a really nice pass to the weak side. And then the next time he'd catch and he'd get a bucket, just catch and shoot from the mid range. Obviously Siakam was awesome as well. I just want to say before we really dive into this, I know people are gonna be like, well, duh, I think this was a big win because of what you talked about with Giannis. I really think the longer this series goes on, right, the better the chance that Giannis comes back. If Indiana wants to win this series, getting this win on the road with the chance to go now win 2 at home and being up 3-1, maybe before Giannis even returns, and maybe he comes back before that. I just think this is a series where the Pacers really want to try to end it as fast as possible. They could have lost tonight, went and won 2 at home, and it's 2-2 again. But now maybe you get Giannis for 3 games as opposed to you still won on the road. Maybe you're up 3-1. And then even as Giannis is back, you only have to beat him once out of 3 times. So I thought this was a huge win for the Pacers on the road in game 2. And we finally got a series where the road team got a victory.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And maybe we should just start diving into what I think you brought up really well. The short roll was the biggest thing for me in this game. They did 2 things exceptionally well. They hit the short roll consistently. They weaponized the short roll at times by maybe getting kickouts or things like that, or they push tempo. And pushing tempo is a really good idea against a Bucks team that is currently starting 2 traditional bigs in Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. So let's just kind of jump in here. This is their first bucket of the game, right? And I think it's really interesting that their first bucket is so instructive, right? So Halliburton's going to get this, and they're going to put 2 on the ball here. And this is just going to leave Miles Turner in a position where he's got all this space in the short roll, right? So what do? They hit him in the short roll. No look pass. Easy little 12-foot bucket there. 8-foot bucket, whatever it was. Next play here. Again, you're going to see they're going to weaponize against the drop now. This is the other thing that they did really, really well in this game. They figured out different ways to attack Brook Lopez in drop coverage, right? I thought this was really, really sharp how they went about attacking Brook in drop. So here they're going to get this little entry to Turner, and it's going to act essentially as a dribble handoff rescreen where Brook Lopez has to make a decision. Okay, do I commit to Tyrese Halliburton or no? Brook's choice is almost always going to be not to commit. As you'll see later in the second half or the second quarter of this game, they started to move Lopez off of Miles Turner. Yeah. I think in part because of what they were worried about here with the screen and roll action. And they moved him onto Siakam, if I remember correctly.
That's what, the possession where I was like, man, that's interesting matchups.
Yeah, and I think the reason for it is you want to try and keep Lopez out of that ball screen coverage when they're attacking him as well as they are. And you want to have him be kind of like the helping roamer when Giannis is out. But when, you're in this circumstance and you're getting attacked all the time with 2 guys who can shoot, it's really hard to play drop against 2 guys who can shoot if Halliburton is going to hit the early pass. Or the other answer here, in my opinion, is slipping these actions as opposed to or ghosting them as a screener, right? Don't necessarily stay attached and make contact with Pat Beverly. Just go, get to your spot, and get to where you want to be. This one here, again, just brings the defense down. And then Brook is in drop again, weaponizing against the drop, right? So Brook Lopez drops twice here. And that's just too easy. You're letting Aaron Naismith just get into this shot like it's nobody's business. Next one, an example of tempo, right? Go ahead, Bryce.
I was just going to say real quick, I like Tyrese being aggressive on that first one. That puts Brook out of position when Tyrese attacked him down into the lane. And now Brook was late getting back even to, I think it was a pass to Siakam and then straight into the handoff with Naismith. And so Brook's even later, he's definitely going to stay and drop in that situation after he was attacked off the bounce.
Yep, that's right. This one, you're just going quick. You're getting the ball, Turner's beating Brook Lopez down the court. This one, Halliburton's going to push, finds Ben Shepherd right on the wing. Easy bucket there for 3. They dropped 30 points or more in all 3 of the first quarters in this game. Their offense was just really, really on point. It was exactly what we saw from what was one of the best offenses in the NBA throughout the course of this entire season. This one now, again, you're in drop. You're hitting this little pocket pass, short roll, Miles Turner. That's an easy bucket. I know that people talk about not wanting mid-range jumpers and everything, but if you get an in-rhythm step-in mid-range jumper, that's just a little too easy in my opinion. This one here, you'll see they do something different. As you can see, we talked about this earlier. Brook Lopez here in the corner on Pascal Siakam. Jay Crowder is guarding Miles Turner here. They put 2 on the ball, right? That's going to open up that little pass there with ease, or it's going to open up that. And if you look at why that opened up, it's because Brook Lopez has to take that step into the paint. And that doesn't seem like much, but when it's Brook Lopez, who doesn't move super well, this isn't necessarily the easiest recovery out to a shooter. And Siakam, who can make catch and shoot threes at the end of the day.
Well, and Brook has to close out short to Siakam because if he closes out hard, Siakam's going to take him off the bounce. So Siakam's always going to get a short closeout from Brook. So not only is late, but you see he's closing out short, hands down. He has to protect against the drive.
Honestly, I would prefer him to close out heavy there, to be honest, just given where the defense is situated. And it's hard for Brook to know this necessarily, but with, I think that's Middleton here tagging on to Miles Turner. I would prefer to like force Siakam to drive there and force Middleton to come and help. Make Siakam make this dump off pass to Turner. See if you can get the recovery back to back from Jay Crowder, right? Like that feels like a more difficult like thing to execute to me. But I don't know that you're wrong, given that it's like Siakam and he's not like the world's best 3-point shooter either. There are just different ways to go about it, I think.
Well, I was just thinking with Lopez in terms of who he is as a player. Like he's not going to be able to close out hard and stay in front, I guess was my point. Just in general, in terms of what he's going to be able to do. Like, yes, if you wanted to, like, I think there's a debate of would you rather give up the open corner three or, like you said, force the attack. I'm just saying if you do ask Lopez to close out and take away that shot, then Siakam's definitely getting downhill.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Next one here. Again, Turner. 2 on the ball. This time they hit the short roll. Short roll to kick out after the tag. That's just like easy money for people who don't necessarily know, it's not always the easiest thing to know this terminology. So again, 2 on the ball here. 1, 2. He's going to hit this little short roll pass here because he's hit this short roll pass and Turner has all this space with Jay all the way out here, who was guarding him. Middleton has to come in. That's going to leave that corner 3-point shooter wide open. It's really tough to leave Aaron Naismith very open from 3, but that's the pressure that Indiana can put on you with 5 guys who have real offensive skill and can shoot, right? This is what floor spacing does. It's the best drug in the NBA. Next one, this one, they force Siakam, right, to drive.
Well, Indiana got the switch on this one. So now Turner goes to the post, draws the double, and still scores.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So going back to the top here, this is just a switch now. This is what one of the adjustments were early on by Milwaukee, right? They just decided, okay, we have to switch this. We're going to do this. They switched it, and it leads to that mismatch. It leads to 6'1" on, I don't know, 6'11", right? 10-inch difference. That's going to be tough. Can't deal with that. I think that Beverly does about as good of a job as you can of like being physical, literally shoving him all the way to the baseline. It's just hard. He asks for help, gets the help. The help comes on time. It's just a hard matchup, right?
I mean, that's a tough bucket by Turner too.
It's a really tough bucket that Beverly forced there. This one, this is just a drop. This might be the last one we have. No, this is the second to last one we have. I love this as a counter to the drop. If you have to play like a little bit higher, if you're Brook here, if you're going to be able to catch Damian Lillard just sleeping a little bit on Siakam, you can see Brook calling out there that I think he wants Lillard to take the shooter. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, he's asking for some help as Bev gets over the screen.
Yeah, so I believe that he's asking, like you said, Beverly. I think he's asking Lillard, like, hey, get the shooter. Don't you?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And what that does is Lillard is looking at the ball and not really doing anything. And that leaves a 45 cut wide open for Siakam. Easy money there. And then finally, this is the last one of the half, last bucket of the half. This is just, again, just like snaking that screen, making it so that that little dump off behind is there. It's just really sharp, really well executed, I thought, from Milwaukee. Just really, really strong offensive play.
Yeah, I mean, and in this game, they shot the ball really well. 16 of 36 from 3. They were over 55% from the field. They only had 5 turnovers. Like you said, just a very efficient offensive game. And then defensively, it was another game where Lillard went crazy in the first half and then cooled off a little bit in the second. Middleton was okay. Portis was, 14 points on 16 shots. Like quite honestly, Sam, like the Bucks just don't have the offensive firepower without Giannis to keep up with them. If the Pacers are going to score 125 points, they're going to win games. They're going to win every game they score 125 points. I feel pretty strong about that because the Bucks, I just don't think are going to be able to keep up, especially without Giannis.
And that's what actually worries me, because to me, the biggest concern about this game for Milwaukee was it really showed that they don't have the horses in terms of like perimeter defenders either.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They just don't have a lot of answers, because if you switch it, you're creating size-based mismatches. Siakam is really good at taking advantage of mismatches as well. If you drop, all 5 guys can shoot, so the screeners are going to be able to shoot. If you play at the level, play 2 on the ball, Halliburton's going to hit the short roll. It's just really, really difficult, I think, to guard Indiana for them. They need crazy offensive performances, I think, and they need Indiana to just miss shots. This game, to me, even though Milwaukee, I think, led by more in game 1, this game to me felt like it was a little bit more on Indiana's terms than game 1 did on Milwaukee's terms, maybe, after these adjustments. And plus, like, we need to be honest about this, like, Rick Carlisle against Doc Rivers is not an ideal coaching matchup for Milwaukee either. And I know that, you can say Carlisle hasn't won a playoff series in a decade and, everything like that. But I thought Rick did a great job adjusting in this game and really making it tough.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away any credit from Miles Turner, right? Like, we kind of think of Miles Turner as this pick and pop stretch big. And I think in this game, he showed, that skill level and that shooting touch, but from the mid range, which is a different shot. It's a little different to short roll catch and knock down that shot as opposed to pick and pop or ghost and pop or whatever. And then you showed one of the clips where he made the pass. I believe he had 6 assists in this game. Yeah. So a really nice game, 3 blocks, no turnovers, just a really nice game from Miles Turner. I think the scary thing, if you're the Bucks, and maybe this is who he's going to be for this series and however far they make in the playoffs, like Tyrese Halliburton hasn't even gone crazy at all yet. Like he hasn't even been super aggressive yet. Now he did have 12 assists in this game. And so I'm not saying he necessarily played bad, but another game where he only took 10 shots. What if he does get his sea legs under him and we see him kind of playing the way he was the first half of the year? I don't know if he does get there, but man, if he gets back to that level, I don't know that there's any way they can guard him.
Yeah. I thought he did a great job dictating the game today.
Just kind of running the show.
I thought he was excellent in terms of just running the show, keeping them in flow on offense, doing a great job of making them effective. Essentially, he was the reason they were in control of the game from the jump. It felt like to me. And yeah, I know the counting numbers didn't say it, but it felt like to me he was the driving force of the game a lot of the time. And Siakam did a great job. He had like 30 points again. He was great. Okay, let's go to Phoenix, Minnesota now. Okay. Minnesota is up 2-0. They won 105-93 against the Phoenix Suns. And to me, this is just all about defensive pressure at this point. Minnesota's defensive pressure in this series has been absolutely fantastic at the point of attack. They fight over the top of screens like nobody's business. They are just so pesty with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards as well has done a really good job in this series. I want to talk a little bit about Phoenix as well and some of the things that have driven me nuts. But what is your take on Minnesota after 2? Because I want to start by giving Minnesota the credit as opposed to just like trashing Phoenix before we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I am doing right now in terms of just giving Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and truly Anthony Edwards as well. I know he didn't have the offensive output in this game as he did in game 1, but those 3 guys defend on the perimeter. And at the end of the day, if you're going to play the Phoenix Suns, you need 3 of them, right? Because you have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant on the other side. And how many teams can throw 3 high-level defenders on those 3 guys and essentially say, like, just go guard them, make their lives miserable? And those 3 guys, I don't want to say like struggled, but none of them were 50% from the field. 6 of 15, 6 of 17, 6 of 13, 20 points. Devin Booker was the leading scorer of the trio. And that's not easy to do against the level of talent those guys are. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the Suns, and maybe they could do some things to make it easier on those guys, but give all the flowers to those perimeter defenders and what they've done. And then, of course, Rudy Gobert, who gets in switches and, all of these things that people try to attack him. And again, this narrative of how he gets played off the court. Well, this was the ultimate series to play Rudy Gobert off the floor, and it sure as heck hasn't happened in 2 games thus far.
Yeah, no, it hasn't happened at all. I just kind of wanted to grab some defensive possessions. I think I have like almost all of their terrible missed shots in this game. But this is the first possession they ran. Jaden McDaniels kind of blew this up, if I remember correctly here, kind of at the top. Like, look at him fighting around this screen at the bottom of the screen there to get over the top on Devin Booker. Then he gets around this little ghost action from Allen, and they get the switch that they want from KD onto Mike Conley Jr. to shoot over the top. Conley does a great job staying attached. That was honestly probably the best set I felt like they ran all game. And it resulted in a mid-range jumper. When I watch Phoenix, it just feels like to me that their shot distribution and their shot diet is impossible to live off of.
Sure.
They are taking really tough contested mid-range twos, and they are living with those tough contested mid-range twos. So this one, Jaden McDaniels kind of starts this possession on Grayson Allen, picking him up in transition. This ends up going to the other side of the court. Little dribble handoff with Nurkic to Mike Conley. And now we're just going to see Gobert like totally switched out onto Beal. Does a great job containing. And then Booker takes this open 3, and that's a good shot, right? Like, this is, again, I thought that they got a couple of pretty good shots to start this game, and it devolved from there. Next up, you're going to see kind of a double drag, almost like a side Chicago action here. I love how Towns is available as a tagger on the backside there. He makes the early movement in off of Kevin Durant, knowing that they can recover there, and then hopefully be able to recover out if necessary. And then what I love here is just Towns kind of fighting through these actions. I think he was so much better defensively in this game than he was in game 1. Again, just active, tough, physical with Durant, forces the miss. Really, really effective from Karl Towns. I thought, again, like, here's one where Towns, they run, I believe, like a Spain action here. Oh, no, that's just like a pin down to get Durant loose. But, like, look how physical Towns is with Booker, kind of making him kind of deal with that contact and get through it, right? That's hard. Next up, look at Jaden McDaniels just like fighting over the top, right? Like, Jaden McDaniels getting over the top of this screen is completely ridiculous. Just bounces up over the top of Nurkic there, gets back into recovery, makes it so Booker doesn't have a clean look at the rim, and then Towns.
That's a good possession by Towns. Like, I know KD can make that shot, but that's all you can ask from Karl Anthony Towns right there. That's all you could expect. That's a good on-ball possession from him.
Yeah, I thought the Towns was, again, way better in this game. Just Jaden McDaniels getting over the top of these screens is completely ridiculous. Look at him fighting over 3 of them. He communicates the switch out. Gobert switches out onto Bradley Beal. That's just absurd. What I want to call out, though, here, and this is an example of like Phoenix, just honestly, like, I haven't been like oh my God, Phoenix needs a point guard guy throughout the course of the year, but they're just making this way harder. What? Just hit this pocket pass
to Royce O'Neal.
Just hit the pocket pass to Royce O'Neal off of this double drag here. Like, this is pretty simple to me. And instead, you're trying to drive into Rudy Gobert, where what your best option is that you try to finish at the basket against Rudy.
Yeah, no, that's
I got nothing.
Yeah, that's a bad decision.
Like, that's just bad. But Rudy, just watch him slide. Does a great job sliding. Does a great job staying attached. Beal tries to go for the up and under, misses. Just really, really good work from Minnesota there. And then Jaden McDaniels, again, just like spinning and flying off of these screens every time. Gobert again switched out onto Booker, and Booker settles, right? So Jaden McDaniels, just watch him here. One, spins off of this one too at Nurkic. But you've got this switch, right? And there's just no movement after this to me. It's just like, okay, we're just going to stand around. We're just going to want Rudy Gobert to be able to attack Devin Booker, or Devin Booker to attack Rudy Gobert and go from there. It's just not good enough, right? It's just absolutely not good enough. I'm going to adjust my microphone here. Kind of had a feeling. There we go. Microphone sound a little bit hotter now?
That's a little bit more. Yep.
Yep, that's what we're looking for. Okay. This next one, this is all in the first quarter. The Suns ended up, I think they were like first like 5 minutes, 4 minutes of the game, they didn't score a field goal. This one, Naz Reid out onto Kevin Durant. You just really like to see Kevin Durant be able to make these passes, but he struggled with these passes all season, really. Like, he's turned it over a little bit more often than what you would expect. And this is just awesome from Rudy, reading this play, getting into the play. Next up, gets the switch on to Monte Morris. This just drives me crazy. This is like Phoenix in a nutshell right now. What are you doing? You try and just like bully Monte Morris. You have, because you're bullying Monte Morris, Anthony Edwards is like, okay, I need to be available here. I need to make sure that I'm around for if Devin turns the corner or if he is able to like spin back in some way, shape, or form. Anthony Edwards has completely left Bradley Beal.
Yep.
Just has completely left him. Bradley Beal's alone in the corner. Beal has Drew Eubanks here to set this screen here to be able to get the open three. Yeah, you might get the late closeout from Naz Reid, but like, you got to be able to make this pass. It's just that to settle for this shot, when you have that mismatch, you have that open pass, it's just so indicative of where Phoenix is right now in terms of their offensive execution and what they're trying to do. And credit to Minnesota. Like, I do want to give Minnesota all the credit in the world. We're talking about Jaden McDaniels flying off these screens. We haven't really gotten into the Nickeil Alexander-Walker stuff yet. These guys have done great, but like, do better, Phoenix.
This has been my problem with Phoenix all year in games I've watched, and they'll do it at times, but it's like, instead of using those three guys' talent to get easier shots, they're still just taking all of the same shots they would if they were playing by like, they might as well play by themselves without other star players around them, because that's what they're doing. Like, they're running actions to get a specific switch. Well, that's great, but you're still making life hard on yourself, especially in the playoffs when teams are locked in and players are engaged and there's more multiple efforts and there's less foul calls, as opposed to, oh, we got Devin Booker with Mike Conley on him. Let's force a double team, like we did with Anthony Edwards, and then let's play off of that. And that's the advantage that we're going to use. They don't play off of each other's strengths or the advantage that each other create, or they at least haven't in these first two games. And there were multiple examples throughout the season when I would watch where the same thing happened.
It just can't be this like ISO ball bullshit. Like, that's the thing that drives me crazy. Nickeil fighting around the screen. Bradley Beal decides to just like go hero, drive and attack here, right? Because there's 7 seconds left on the shot clock by the time they initiate. Again, by the way, this little wraparound to Royce O'Neal is open if he wants to take it. It's not the easiest thing in the world, right? Like, he's got Nickeil bearing down on him. I get it, but like, that's just a pass you got to make, I think. It really is.
Royce O'Neal is a career 38% 3-point shooter with Phoenix, 38% on 5 attempts. So we're not asking him to pass it to some, 25% 3-point non-shooter. You traded for Royce O'Neal so he would come in and do those things. You especially with Grayson, like, I didn't see the ankle injury. It sounded like it didn't look good. I don't know what it's going to be, but you're going to need Royce O'Neal to make shots. If you're not going to pass in the ball, then I don't know what we're doing.
Yep. Again, like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker just like fighting around these actions is completely ridiculous to me. He's been so fantastic. Look at him just get around that screen, get back in front.
Yep.
he was not a guy, by the way, at Virginia Tech that defended, just point blank. Like, he was too skinny. He wasn't super strong. He struggled on that end at Virginia Tech,
Okay.
and he has been awesome on
Yeah.
defense. He has been so good on defense this year. He was a borderline all defense guy if he would have played enough minutes. This one, though, they try and attack Jaden McDaniels. You get the help from Rudy to come over, and this is just like Drew Eubanks is not quite good enough to be playing in these games, unfortunately. That's just one you can't miss at the end of the day. Next one is just look at Jaden McDaniels, or is that might be Nickeil Alexander-Walker again. Nickeil Alexander-Walker just like navigating all of these actions, understanding what they're trying to do, getting the contest. But that's just like super stagnant, right? Super stagnant. You've got time left on the clock. Try and attack, try and get a, reset or something. That's a super contested shot. I get that it's Kevin Durant, but that's just not easy.
How many possessions do you think we've watched, Sam? 7?
12, 10.
Okay, 10. I don't one possession where they've put him in scramble. Like, I can only think of one possession where
that's the thing.
Phoenix, like, you have to put defenses in scramble, and maybe they'll be good enough to recover. But if you can't put them in, and they have Kevin freaking Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and you can't put them Timberwolves defense in scramble at any point in any of these possessions, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad Michael Spitzer brings this up in the YouTube comments. They don't understand the idea that once you engage Rudy, pass it because Rudy will not be at the rim. That requires people to cut.
Sure.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if you do that, people will cut, and that's a good idea. But like, nobody's cutting. That's the problem. End of the first half here. You can see like Yusuf Nurkic is like waiting for something to happen. Anthony Edwards navigates that super well. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and him like figure out what to do exactly in terms of handling all of those actions. And then you've just got Yusuf Nurkic like going one-on-one on Rudy Gobert. And that's nobody's idea of a good time. That's just never going to work.
I like that rebound there too. I got after the Sixers the last episode, Sam, about like team rebounding. This is a team it'd be really easy to say, hey, Rudy, go grab all the rebounds. And you see all of these guys we're talking about with their defensive effort finishing possessions off as well.
Yeah, and this one too, I wanted to grab. Karl Towns gets switched on to Devin Booker here, right? So this one, there's just like a little early exchange between KD and Booker. This was something they tried to do a little bit more of, was try to switch Karl Towns onto Booker in this game, it felt like. And again, I want to give Karl Towns like a lot of credit. We spent a lot of time talking about him not being good enough on defense in the first game.
Yeah.
I thought he played better today, despite the fact that like, I don't even know if he had a bucket in the first half of this game. Like, we talked a lot about how he was really effective on offense and really made that work when they tried to punish Kevin Durant and some of the switches in the post and things like that. Did none of that in this game, but I thought he was more effective. And I would bet you, I haven't looked at the on-offs yet, but I would bet you that they probably gave up like 90 points per 100 when he was on the court.
He was, if you just go plus minus, he was plus 16 in this one. In only 24 minutes. So that was second of all the starters behind only McDaniels.
Yeah, and like, look, now we're, because Towns cuts off Booker, now we're backing down Rudy Gobert in a way that's never going to be effective. I want to kind of get to this, run here that happens, I think in the fourth, where things just got like way out of hand. So this one now, get the switch, Towns onto Beal, then get the switch, Gobert onto Beal. That's not a mismatch at this point in their career.
So that's
just not. I'm sorry.
And I don't understand this. If you get I would rather Beal just attack Towns than bring Gobert into it and then ask him to attack Gobert. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. You already got a big on him. If you're just going to play ISO ball, I'd rather you just play ISO ball against Towns.
Yep, I agree.
Instead, Nurkic comes in, and now why put Gobert on him?
There's just like not enough offensive structure here. Like, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, even beyond just like finding mismatches.
Where's he
Like, you
throwing the
need to be able to figure out a plan for what you're going to do once you get the mismatch.
Yeah.
This is what Denver does really, really well, right? So, yeah, this is just not quite good enough to me. This one here, as you can see, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, just like right in his space, just standing there, like just standing there for like 7 seconds, 8 seconds, not doing anything, still not doing anything. Devin Booker had this ball. He caught this ball at the same spot with 17 seconds left on the shot clock. He did not move or pass it until there are 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Just stood there for 10 seconds. Like, against this defense, you're making it too easy. You're just making it too easy. And that's the problem. And that's why they're in the position that they are now. And I've seen nothing from Phoenix's strategy at this point to make me think that this is this is like a home court advantage situation where they'll go back to Phoenix and everything will be good, especially with Grayson Allen potentially missing time now. Minnesota, I've just been like super, super impressed with across the board.
Yeah, and this is what we all wanted to see from Minnesota, right? Everybody, discounted the regular season and fair, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's a team that needs to win in the playoffs, and people were unsure of whether the structure of the roster could do it. And everybody said coming into the series, and I'll be honest, I kind of bought into it, that this was a bad matchup. And so far it hasn't been. Now, everybody will tell you a series doesn't really start until a team wins on the road, right? And so game 3, again, another duh comment from me, but we're going to really find out, because the thing is, Phoenix does have dudes that could just go crazy, right? You could get 40 from Durant and 30 from Booker, and none of this other stuff matters if they just go nuclear. But from everything we've seen, they're going to have to earn it. And I don't know why that Minnesota defense wouldn't travel to Phoenix and at least make it as difficult. Doesn't mean the Suns may not make more shots, but I don't see any reason why the Timberwolves don't bring that same defense on the road. Now, do they make the same amount of shots, Sam? Like, Phoenix still got to 93 points tonight. Minnesota scored 105. That's with 25 from McDaniels, another 10 from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 18 from Conley. Do those guys all score on the road, or does their offense take a step back where maybe it's a 97-95 Phoenix Suns win where, they hit shots late in the game? I think that's where Phoenix could win a game.
Yep. No, I don't think that's wrong. I think that's what you're kind of hoping for if you're Phoenix, at least, right? Trying to grab the tape that I pulled for the Denver series, but let's go to this Denver Lakers series now. I mean, probably the most interesting series, along with the other one we're going to talk about here, Philadelphia and the Knicks. I thought LA made some good adjustments going into game 2 that we'll talk about here whenever I can get these clips up in a second. But namely, the big one for me was putting AD on Jokic more often.
Yep.
And as we'll see in, like, when we break down the tape, it really made the 2-man game a little bit more difficult with Jamal Murray. And that's where I think the Lakers could have some hope here and there. But I just struggle with what I saw from LA on offense, like, in a serious way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they do offensively in the half court to get buckets. Like, they just, I guess you just run LeBron, AD, middle pick and roll over and over and over. The one thing I wrote in my notes from this game about the Nuggets is I just feel like they have such good chemistry. Their defense is always on a string for a team that, plays Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And, Michael Porter Jr. has gotten better, with respect to Michael Porter Jr. He rebounds, he'll give him multiple efforts. You'll see him fly and get a block from behind. Yeah. But we're not talking all defensive level guys, right? We're not talking Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Anthony Edwards on the defensive end. And so I think the Nuggets make it hard for you in the half court. And to me, the answer continues to be for the Lakers, you have to get out in transition. I said it after game 1 that they had 10 transition points in the first quarter, and I think they ended the game with 14. In this game, they have 15 total. I just don't think they're winning a game if they don't get more transition points than that. I think they have to get out and run.
So let's kind of talk a little bit through what we're seeing from the most interesting piece of it is how they're defending Jokic to me. by far. Far and away, like I'm trying to figure out how they go about defending the MVP of the league. And in game one, we talked a lot about, and maybe I'll pull that up real quick just as like a reminder. We talked a lot about how it was Rui on Jokic, and that was just not even remotely good enough. And part of the reason for that was that he's just not big enough to take up the space in those pocket areas, right? So they would run all of these different actions, like the 2-man game between Jokic and Murray. So this is a perfect example, right? So you're going to run this 2-man game with Rui being guarded by Jokic, and this is just patented, right? Like every time that a team goes under on this dribble handoff action for Jokic, it's going to be an auto rescreen, a flipped rescreen from Jokic every single time, right? And Rui, God love him, he's trying to guard the MVP of the league. It's difficult, but he's just not big enough, right? He's like 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, and he's strong, but he's not big enough to fill this pocket.
Yep.
As well as stay attached to Jamal Murray. And for as much as I think Austin Reeves like has improved defensively throughout the course of the season, he is still like fighting to get back in recovery, right? So this is just a pocket, and it's way too easy for Jokic, right? Yep. And that's what game one was a lot of, right? Like game one was a lot of, we're going to run that 2-man game, and we're going to make it really easy to attack what the Lakers are presenting to us. So also just like physically way too strong, way too big for Rui.
Well, we talked about the offensive boards as well, Sam, and just Rui not able to keep Jokic off the offensive glass.
Yeah, right, this is a good example of that right here. KCP is going to miss the shot, and then just right over the top, too easy there. And they love to go to this 2-man game. Like it's the best action that they can run, right? So there you go. He's just not big enough. He's just not big enough to take up that space in the pocket there. And that's what makes it so easy a lot of the time for the Nuggets. Now, let's get to game 2, where we can open this up, hopefully. Sorry about this. And open up. And we can talk about different strategies that they tried to employ, right? So as you can see immediately, Anthony Davis guarding Nikola Jokic. On the block, they try to send a double early in this game, right?
Yep.
Well, if you send the double, it's going to be a little bit too easy because they are way too good in terms of shooting and finding guys. They are way too much synergy on offense at this point. They're just awesome. This one, I mean, this is a LeBron block for the ages on some level, but I put this one on here because, again, Anthony Davis, and look at how much tighter that window is, though. Tougher to find that little pocket. This is different. This is give and go. This is not like a traditional pick and roll setting. But more than that, I loved LeBron's defensive energy in this game. I thought he was way more active defensively in this game than he was in game 1. And I thought it worked to the Lakers' benefit to have him as like the weak side rotation man on Aaron Gordon, being able to be that, instead of Anthony Davis being the help man off of Aaron Gordon, having LeBron be that help man was really, really valuable.
I mean, he had taken a charge right before this possession as well. I thought first half, especially, there was a lot of really nice defensive energy from LeBron.
Yep. This is just tough. Like that's just a hard matchup there for the Nuggets at the end of the day. Jamal Murray's really good at basketball. Rui tries to like fight through it, but I grabbed that one, I believe, because
How the Nuggets got the switch on that, right?
correct. So they're essentially trying to run like a Ram DHO here, where the idea is going to be Jokic kind of goes down. My pen is like completely crapping the bed right now. Jokic goes down, screens, gets that screen from Murray to come up, catch the ball. And I would imagine that KCP is going to come back around and like run like some sort of like hard action. But what it does is it forces the switch from Anthony Davis onto Rui, right? The other thing I want to point out about that set is you're going to see another one later where these two are screening for one another, Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic, where you're going to see Jokic pop out, right? And just use that little rub action to be able to get where he wants on the court. They forced the foul from Rui that time. Again, this is the typical two-man game between Murray. Sorry, I went a little too far back. Typical two-man game between Murray and Jokic. If you go under the initial DHO, Jokic is going to flip it. But look at how much of a difference the length makes here. I believe that this might be one where they hit the pocket. I can't remember. But he is right in that pocket, right? He is right there available. Having LeBron on a AG, he's here ready to cut off the drive. They're just a lot more capable of defending this action now than they were in game one. And they're forcing a tough shot, right? I know Murray made it, but that is forcing a tough shot. Again, under, rescreen, but now you've got a one-on-one with Anthony Davis, right? And Anthony Davis gets the block and gets the stop that time. This action right here truly is what this series is all about to me.
Yeah.
Finding a way to slow down this action. Finding a way to slow down the DHO when you go under rescreen action for Jokic. I love how Jokic does like the little twist and turn there as well in order to open up the little pocket space there. Just really, really sharp. But you get the one-on-one. And you're okay here, I think, if you're Denver and you're getting this one-on-one with Nikola Jokic and Anthony Davis, because you're hoping that he's going to be a little bit less effective, I think, on those.
Well, and I think AD almost tipped that pass. So, I mean, it was a little late there. And at the end of the day, I mean, just those back-to-back clips are perfect, Sam. I give Rui a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because he's just not used to doing this. So AD has spent his whole career defending in drop, defending ball screens where you help, you have a hand in the pocket pass, and then you recover to the big. I mean, I know it sounds simple. It's easy for us to pause and talk about and point out, but it's an uncomfortable situation if it's not something you're used to. And so AD is just way smoother at it than what Rui is.
Yeah. And like you said, like, again, we've been talking about the pocket here, right? Like, this is just an enormous amount of space to be able to make this pass. Like, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is not Jamal Murray in terms of being able to be like a high-level passer, and he makes that pass to make it easy. And that's the difference between Rui and AD guarding Jokic. So this is that one counter that I brought up from the previous set, right? So watch on the backside here. Jokic is going to go down, going to set this screen for Porter, which last time, if you remember, was Porter setting a screen for Jokic last time. But I don't really love the way Taurean Prince defends this. I'm not saying there's a good way to defend this action necessarily, but I think he gets a little bit too far in between trying to like fight over the top of it with Michael Porter Jr. When in reality, like, you just want to try and like recover. I think you go under that and you try and recover it and try and chase him. But because he kind of gets there, it allows Porter to make all of that contact. This is a great example of just Michael Porter being able to kind of make life difficult with the ways he's improved a little bit and like the little things that he does. Again, like Jokic one-on-one on AD forces the kick out, right?
Yep.
They switch this, gets it out to Rui. Then they double. Get the flyby. They're just hard to guard, right? Like, on some level, they're just really hard to guard. I think the Lakers did okay there. I probably wouldn't have sent the double. I think the big thing with Denver is you need somebody where you can't double or where you can not double Jokic and be effective.
Well,
That's just the number one thing to me.
And that's what, as we're watching, that was my thing as well. You have to keep AD on him as much as possible. And whenever you do have him on him, you just got to let AD play him one-on-one and just survive with it, make life tough. Because he's too good of a passer. He splits the double teams too easy anyway. He's so strong and he's so good at splitting those doubles, and then you're really in trouble. So they got to keep AD on him as much as they possibly can.
Yep. This is just fantastic Anthony Davis work here, in my opinion. This is one where, again, they actually have LeBron guarding Jokic, and then they have AD guarding Gordon. Gordon sets this little pin down for Murray to come around. And I love how AD confuses the space a little bit there.
Yeah.
It just makes it a little bit harder. Really, really good. Again, that little twist action. And now you've got Jokic island with AD, who's one of the 5 best defenders in the world. Yeah, he might make some of these or he might miss some of them, right? A few more of those, right? Where at some point we'll get to one of these in the 4th. I think this is it, actually. So this is the one that he made, I think. And then the next one is going to be one that, they fight over it this time. So they change the coverage comparatively to how they've been doing it the whole game. So just like, watch the way that this works here. Instead of Reeves going under this initial screen, he goes over the top of it and just allows AD to just kind of stay attached for a second, and then eventually allows Reeves to recover. And that's a tough shot for Jokic. He makes it because Jokic is one of the best players in NBA history. But that's a tough shot, right? This one, again, they send Reeves over the top.
It's really nice. That's really nice from Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray being a great basketball player, right? Reeves goes over the top. Jamal Murray uses his pace to kind of snake it.
That hesitation is beautiful.
And he goes, right? And Reeves slaps the ball afterward. He knows that was a disappointing rep on his part. Next up, just ridiculous. Just a ridiculous basketball player.
Yeah. Maybe you can't play him one-on-one. Like I'm replaying some of the footwork stuff he did in the second half, and I'm just like, I don't know how you stop him. He's so good feeling where the defender is and just spinning off of it.
And the other thing here that I want to call out on this play, so this is 1:30 left in the 4th quarter. And Nikola Jokic is like literally explaining to all of his teammates where he wants them to go, right? He's saying to these guys, someone like get over here, basically.
Yep.
Pointing to the corner because he knows what spacing he wants. And this is the difference between Denver and Phoenix, right? Like Phoenix is not very intentional in their spacing.
Sure.
Jokic is extremely intentional in how he wants the court spaced in these big moments, right? Literally forces
they don't
need to get over.
Think about the difference, right? We watched Devin Booker hold the ball for 10 seconds just because we don't know. The Nuggets held the ball for 10 seconds because they specifically wanted somebody in a certain spot before they started their action. Like that's the difference in intentionality and just, I'm not really sure what I want to do here.
That's right. That's exactly right. This one, again, LeBron guarding Murray. It's just a big pocket of space. Then the rescreen, just an enormous screen. And that's is just a great
play by LeBron.
Just sick. He sees exactly what they're trying to do the whole way. This is what I love about LeBron James, like among many other things. And this is where we're going to get into the other crazy thing that happened after this. But like very clear that Murray is trying to hit this little pocket pass to Jokic the whole time, right? Very clear he's trying to get him the ball. He's trying to get the rescreen. They want him to have the ball here. And LeBron just jumps it.
He jumps it.
Like,
yeah.
Just absolutely jumps it. knows what they're trying to do. That is like 38, 39, whatever age he is, 20 years of experience, unbelievable player. Unbelievable
This is
player.
the play right here. This Aaron Gordon, this is huge because if he doesn't chase down this loose ball, this game goes vastly different as Jokic throws this up.
Like, I have no idea what Nikola Jokic is doing here. I think he's trying to like chase, trying to like grift for a foul at the 3-point line there, chase the free throws. And that's just an enormous rebound by Aaron Gordon. Gets it out to Michael Porter Jr., who just drills this three.
Wow.
I mean, just an absurd basketball team. Just an absurd basketball team. Now we're at 99-99. This is the end of game situation. The Lakers ran a bunch of Spain actions late in the game to mixed success, but like the last two possessions, they got the shots they wanted. They made a shot on the previous possession prior to this one. And then this one, you're going to see D'Lo kind of come around, going to screen the screener. So for people who don't know Spain, LeBron's going to come around, take this screen from AD. AD is then going to roll as D'Angelo Russell tries to screen the roll man's man. And that forces Murray and Gordon into a fairly difficult like help situation, right? They have to figure out, how do I stay attached? Who do I stay attached to? How do I go about this? They actually navigate it reasonably well. It's just that KCP falls.
Yep.
And it leads to a wide open shot. LeBron misses, and then we're going down. Jamal Murray. LeBron decides to pick him up.
Double drag.
They run a double drag, like Bryce says, get the switch onto AD, and that's curtains.
Oh, what a night.
Just an unbelievable basketball game. By the way,
yep.
Things we haven't talked about in this. The Lakers were up, I believe, 20 or so in the third quarter. They had a big second quarter run and a big third quarter run. Then they allowed a 13-0 run from the Nuggets to kind of get them back into the game a little bit. And then after that, the Lakers, calmly, methodically got it back to 82-71 in the fourth quarter. Looked like things were sweet. The Lakers drilled 2 threes. I think LeBron actually drilled 2 threes to get it to 8-point lead with 5:30 left in the game. And it was fantastic. And the thing we didn't talk about here, and I don't want to belabor this Nuggets-Lakers series, because I think we've talked about the series a ton, but the real reason why, I'll pull up like a couple of things while we're doing it, because I have a crazy amount of clips on all of these, but like the thing that changed this series in some way, really changed the game in the middle of it though, was instead of having Jokic guard Anthony Davis like they did early in the game, they switched to Jokic guarding, I believe it was Rui, Gordon guarding Anthony Davis, and then KCP dealing with LeBron. Yep. And that was really, really smart, I thought. That changed the game defensively to where the Lakers had to try and figure out some different things to be able to get that advantage, and they didn't really have the ability to do so.
Well, I noticed it because all of a sudden it was like, why are the Lakers running the LeBron Rui pick and roll instead of the LeBron AD pick and roll? And I assume it's because they wanted to keep Jokic in the action, and it just wasn't as effective with Rui as you would imagine, because AD was incredible. Like, we haven't even talked about the first half he had offensively. Now, I know we were going to discuss a little bit how sustainable is his shot diet and all of that. But in the day, he did in this one have 32 points on 19 shots. And I believe he had 30 points early in the second half. So it definitely cooled down a lot as the second half went on. But he was really, really good offensively there for the first 28 minutes or so.
Yeah. And like, we won't necessarily like jump into all these clips. You guys can just watch them while we're talking over this, but this is going to be like Anthony Davis scoring like in a substantial way. As you can see, Jokic in the game early in this matchup, second quarter, we're seeing here, gets that fadeaway mid-range shot, right? Anthony Davis initiating against Jokic, kind of bullies him, gets to that tough little turnaround, like hook shot. There are a lot of things that I think Anthony Davis did really, really well in this game. And I thought he was incredibly effective as a mid-range scorer. How sustainable do you think that is? Him making 14 of 19 on this shot diet where we're seeing him drill mid-range shot after mid-range shot after mid-range shot.
I don't, and that's what's concerning, right? Like what was he? So on the season, 10 to 16 feet, he was 43%, 16 feet to the 3-point line, he was 37%. Those are actually right in line with his career numbers. 3 to 10 feet, we're getting a little closer than what we're discussing here. I'm like, what that would be the bubble, right? Like that's when AD was making all, like this was the height of it, was in the bubble when he just went crazy making all of these. I'm not overly optimistic that he will, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And as you can see here, we're into the third quarter now. And this is just a big bucket by AD again over the smaller Jamal Murray. But look at this play here. This is them bringing the ball slowly up the court. This is time. There's a lot of time to get the matchups you want defensively here. And they decided to go Jokic on Rui, Gordon on AD, KCP on LeBron, right? That's what they decided they wanted to switch to. That was the adjustment that Michael Malone made in this second half. And, they bring this little like half help from Jamal Murray. And still, like, Anthony Davis made shots here and there, but it felt like it just completely bogged down what they wanted to do, right? So, like, this is a prime example of it where instead of having Jokic be, maybe a little bit less of a disruptive defender, you have Aaron Gordon there, and then you have Aaron Gordon who can like backtrack and recover in such a substantial way. And then this lob just gets airmailed to Anthony Davis, right? So just confusing that space, having the slightly better athlete out there was a significant help. And then this one is, like you mentioned earlier, Rui being the guy that's coming up and screening. And then you have Anthony Davis trying to get this mid-range shot against Aaron Gordon, and he misses that one too. Like, it was just way more difficult. The Lakers did not have any answers once they made this adjustment, in my opinion. The other thing I want to call out here, and I said I wasn't going to like break all of this down, but like, look at how early Jokic is off of Rui here.
Yep.
Being that big helper in the rim so that AD can't get any open shots at the basket, right? Jokic is all the way over here. It allows them to put 2 on the ball against LeBron James for that split second, kind of try and like confuse the space. And this is the one where he makes that like crazy miracle, 15-footer where he gets bumped by KCP. But like, this is a hard shot.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
That's a tough shot. So yeah, like I loved the fact that they made this adjustment. I thought it was super smart, and I really, really appreciated Michael Malone's decision to do that. I thought it was a really sharp move. My question is, do you think the Lakers are cooked, or like, where are you on how this series goes moving forward? Did the fact that they played this tight game in Denver give you any hope?
No, not really. I mean, I think the Nuggets are still my pick to make it out of the Western Conference. I've essentially felt like this was either going to be a sweep. I think I've said I would give the Lakers one game. So yeah, maybe we see the Lakers win game 3 at home, right? But my feeling is this is going to be 3-1 going back to Denver, and then Denver ends it in 5. And again, I think it's one of those where, Michael Malone and the Nuggets, they have a little extra motivation because it is the Lakers not to play around with this and just end it when they can. They beat them 10 times in a row. I'm sure they're aware of that. Would love to make it 12 in a row and have the Lakers have to think about that for an entire offseason. I will say on what the point you just made there, now the ball is back in Darvin Ham's court. Can you find a way to force the Jokic switch back onto AD so then you can get back to LeBron, AD pick and roll with, Jokic in the mix. So, these are the chess matches throughout a series that we all love about the playoffs.
Color me underwhelmed by what is going to be forthcoming from Darvin Ham. I would say. I do not expect much in that respect. Okay. Next game here is Philadelphia and the Knicks. So let's just jump into this end of game madness immediately, right? And try and figure out what in the world happened. What in the entire world happened at the end of this game? 101-96, 43 seconds left. Jalen Brunson's bringing the ball down the court. Josh Hart gets the kick out, comes and sets a screen for Brunson, who gets the ball back. Brunson loses this ball. Dante DiVincenzo was just fantastic this entire game, getting loose balls, digging balls out if necessary. How in the world do the Sixers keep losing on balls that bounce this high in the air and just like hang on the rim in the way that like Kawhi's did for the Raptors all those years ago? It's just crazy. And then this is just like the bonkers piece of it, right? So to preface this, the Sixers have not been a great inbounding team the whole year. Like for whatever reason, by NBA standards, they have struggled with it. I love how Josh Hart denies Maxey the ball there. I think that undeniably, these are fouls.
Sure.
Like, let's just be transparent. These are fouls. Look at Brunson right there.
Yeah,
he's got him around the hip.
Yep.
And you can see him have the jersey, right? Literally has the jersey. You can see the jersey moving right there. Then I think Josh Hart probably gets him again. And they somehow get this ball out. Dante out for 3 misses. This is the big thing I want to call out that is the 76ers' fault. The 76ers have struggled with offensive rebounding in this series. I thought for 3 quarters,
it's pretty good.
Last night, they were excellent.
Yep.
They gave up 7 offensive rebounds in the 4th quarter. And the big reason why was Joel Embiid. And I think Joel Embiid is a warrior for being out there playing. Doesn't need to be. We know he's hurt. We know that like he is not anywhere near 100% right now. But this is just not good enough. He's the one that has to get a body. I know Josh Hart is right there. I know he's trying to box somebody out. He needs to find his man. His man is Isaiah Hartenstein. Do you know how many rebounds Joel Embiid had in the second half, Bryce?
He had less than 10 he hit right at 10, but 5 were offensive. Wow. I think they have 7. So 3 in the second half. Is that right? Yeah. I think he might have had 7 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah. I believe he had 0 in the second half.
Yeah.
And he wasn't moving well. It was clear, like he was struggling to get up and down the court.
I'll be honest. Like he makes me nervous, Sam. Like
I agree.
There's 2 guys that are making me nervous right now. Joel is one. And if he comes back, Giannis is the other one. I don't know that I can watch a Bucks game if Giannis comes back and plays. Like I'm terrified of Giannis playing in these playoffs for his long-term, over the next year health. It makes me real uneasy watching Joel limp after some of these plays.
I agree. Hartenstein goes up, gets this offensive rebound, loose ball out to OG. Dante, bang, double bang from Mike Breen, and that's curtains.
I want to go back to the very beginning, Sam. Who got the loose ball at the very, very, very beginning of that possession or that sequence was Dante DiVincenzo. Brunson loses it, and DiVincenzo was the one that got in there. Like, if that's a jump ball, this whole thing goes different. If Tyrese Maxey picks that up and gets fouled, he goes and makes 2 free throws. The game is over. Dante DiVincenzo goes and gets a loose ball. So like all of these things, we talk hustle plays and all this coach speak that people hate to hear. Here we see it play out in one of the biggest moments on one of the biggest stages, and really like an insane playoff moment when you really think about it, considering it's in the Garden. I think you tweeted this. I think it was you. This Knicks team is kind of awesome. Like I just find myself rooting for him, and I do not care. Like I don't even like New York City, but I love this Knicks team.
I absolutely love this Knicks team. They are my favorite team to watch in the NBA right now. They are such a joy. They're such a credit to basketball in terms of how hard they play, how physical, how strong they are. They rule. They absolutely rock. I love them so
And
much.
shout out to Jalen Brunson, who has really, really struggled, Sam, really struggled. That's a big shots that he made to get that thing started. And then Isaiah Hartenstein was awesome at the end of this game. He had the block on Tyrese Maxey as well. Like he was really good. And
I'm glad you brought up Brunson. I want to give Tyrese Maxey some flowers. I kind of wanted to like do a deep dive there, but I think we're going to run out of time and maybe we'll do it at a different date down the road here. Maxey has been incredible in the series. He has been so unbelievable in terms of getting loose. Just feels like nobody on the Knicks can guard him right now.
Yeah, it's too fast.
I've been a little bit surprised that like, I feel like they haven't tried Dante on him as much as like some of the other guys. I feel like physically he's probably the one that like is most well equipped to be able to do it. And yeah, he's just, other than Deuce, like Deuce has been amazing on him and just like chasing him and making life harder. But I feel like I was surprised that they haven't gone Dante as much. You brought up Brunson, and I kind of want to talk about how Brunson is getting guarded, how Philly has done a pretty good job on him throughout the course of this series. And I think that what they're doing is actually kind of simple. Like, it feels like to me, they're just like contesting from behind and being willing to stay behind as opposed to staying on his hip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And that's why Oubre works, right? Like Oubre is not going to be the guy you call in to perfectly navigate screens, but Oubre and even Batum's obviously a better defender throughout his career, but there's a lot of length with both of those guys. Like you're not going to out physical him anyway. The Sixers don't have that guy. So they might as well use kind of low usage offensive players who can expend a lot of energy and just use their length to make it as tough as possible.
And the other thing that I think they're doing pretty well here that we're going to show real quick, like this is a switch where they get healed onto Brunson, which is like a super advantageous matchup.
Yep.
I love that they're just like using these like scramble help situations, right?
Yep.
Like Kyle Lowry has been so great in this series.
I agree.
I think just on both ends of the court has been so active. He had like 17 in the first game and then also did a really, really good job of kind of keeping it moving on offense. And then on had 2 killer offensive rebounds late in game 2.
Yep.
He had a couple of really good like scramble defensive possessions. I thought that Lowry has been awesome. And I love that they're just like kind of sending these like weird scramble help situations out. And then they're like flying by, trying to get him into the mid range. He's going to make those, but you'd rather give up 2 than 3, right? This one, Brunson's going to come off. And again, Oubre from behind, and they just kind of let him chase behind, right? And then feed him into Embiid, right? So Embiid's here. He's going to have to stop from that 8-foot range, 9-foot range, right? And then you have somebody on your side who could be length and could try and get his body on him. And then you have Embiid in front to contest. And that's just a really difficult shot for Jalen Brunson. We think Brunson is unbelievable, but you know, this is a great example too. That's a phantom foul call that I didn't really love, but whatever. I just love how they're going about trying to crowd him in a lot of ways. They're just trying to make his life just that little bit more difficult. Yeah, he's going to get to places, but they're just like, okay, we're going to chase behind and we're going to make him finish over the top. And if he finishes over the top, that's fine.
Yep.
So I don't know, like this series, you don't think this series is over, right? People I've talked to are kind of split on it. I think the Knicks are like pretty clearly in the driver's seat. And I would be pretty stunned if they lost the series at this point. This is another great example of just like a, you know, late Oubre contest using his length, right? But like, I do think that the Knicks are pretty strongly, obviously being up 2-0, they're in the driver's seat. But even like with the play on the court, if Embiid is not going to be 100%, it's going to be really hard for them, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Like, I feel like the Knicks are probably the team that should win the series, with the understanding, and especially because I don't think Embiid's anywhere close to 100%, with the understanding that, those two guys went for almost 70 points last game, and they could do that in any game because, like you said, they just don't have a great matchup for Maxey. So he could continue to put up these numbers. Embiid can continue. He's still putting up big numbers, even though the rebounding's not as great. And he's kind of shot diet wise is all jump shot stuff. But I mean, he can really shoot jump shots. I think
that's been my big takeaway is like, he took 7 threes last night. He took a lot of mid-range jumpers. He's just not comfortable, I guess, right now. It feels like kind of going into the block and like having that potential like knee physicality, like hitting him in that way.
So I think what it comes down to is, does Tobias Harris have a game? Does Oubre have a game where he scores 20? Buddy Hield has 2 points in the series, I think, in 2 games. Like, do any of these do they get the Deuce McBride game 1 performance at some point from somebody? I think that's what the Sixers need in these next 2 games. And if they don't, then obviously they're not going to win the series. I would definitely pick the Knicks right now, obviously, up 2-0. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the Sixers win 2 at home and we just have one hell of a series moving forward between these 2 teams.
I think I would be surprised if the Sixers won both at home. It feels like to me that they don't have an answer to the offensive rebounding problem yet, even though they did it for 3 quarters last game. If Embiid is not fully there at the end of games, it just feels like it's going to be a problem for them. And they have to play Embiid 40 minutes to be in these games, right?
Yep.
And he has to play 40 like hard minutes on defense too. So I struggle with that side of it for them. The good news is that Maxey has been incredible. Again, we're going to do like a deeper dive on Maxey in this series at some point, because he like blew me away last night. He had 35, 10 and 9, I think was his final line. Just an unbelievable game from Maxey. And he's a real shot to be the guy that leads them to, a couple of wins here, but I still think I would go Knicks in 6 probably.
And real quick, Tyrese Maxey did win Most Improved Player tonight. And I know a lot of people are going to question this. They don't think it's the spirit of the award. And I'm not going to quibble with that at all. I understand it. I would have voted for Maxey. We've outlined this. I know you feel the opposite way. And again, I'm not going to quibble that stuff.
I don't care enough. Like, I'm just happy for Tyrese that he gets an award. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so I did want to shout that out though, as we start, they start to announce those things.
Yeah. Shout out to Maxey. Okay. The last game that we're going to go a little bit more in depth on is New Orleans, Oklahoma City. I really want to call out, actually, I'll just ask you this to start. So Oklahoma City wins this late, 95, 92. I forget what the score was exactly, but what was your biggest takeaway from this game?
So I've watched this game like 3 times because I've had to do some breakdowns and some different things. Every time I watch, I'm like, the Thunder perimeter defenders were so physical. Lou Dort and Jalen Williams were so physical, specifically with Brandon Ingram. I thought they were extremely physical with him. And I'm really interested to see how he bounces back in game 2 from that. They got a pretty good game from Trey Murphy, but that was probably the thing that stood out the most to me.
The thing that stood out the most to me was the physical defense, both by J-Dub and Dort, and just generally how ready for the assignment Jalen Williams was. We know this is a Jalen Williams first and only podcast. We could just be transparent about that. Jalen Williams has been one of our favorite players in the league this year.
Yep.
He was outstanding in this game. He was totally outstanding, and we're absolutely going to break down Jalen Williams tape from this game. Jose Alvarado is going to miss this 3, and then we're just going to grab and go, because that's what Jalen Williams does. Among his best skills right now, he's going to go, he's going to score at the basket, he's going to get that foul, and he's going to bark at the crowd, because that's what Jalen Williams does. He barks
Well,
at the
I
crowd.
love the way he threw his arms out. Like you put your hand in the cookie jar, he's going to make you pay for it.
Yep. So throws the arms out, throws them out again, gets the foul on Najee Marshall. By the way, like I saw one of the great, like, I forget what it was, but like Willie Green called Najee Marshall like the knife of the team. Like he was just like the guy who's going to come in and like do the dirty work. I forget what the quote was. I'll go find it. But like it was just incredible stuff. How Najee Marshall is so respected in New Orleans. Jalen Williams again going to catch Najee Marshall. He's going to find this little pass to other Jalen Williams out to Isaiah or Aaron Wiggins for a three. That was. Yep. High ball screen again. Step back, drills it.
Up on a dime.
Yep. And then we're going to see the defense.
Yeah.
Like defense, gets through the action once, gets through it twice, gets through it a third time, just leaning on Brandon Ingram the whole way. Like that is just a sick defensive possession from Jalen Williams. Just look at this dude.
Denies it right
through the off-ball screen.
Yep. That's supposed to be a zoom action to get Ingram downhill, and he doesn't get the ball because Williams is denying him.
That's exactly right. Just absolutely sick.
Chicago action, I guess. I keep calling it zoom.
They're the same. This is the big thing that I think that is worth calling out here. This was the goal for the Thunder.
Oh, yeah. Getting the switch.
Kind of the whole game, right? They were trying to get this switch on CJ McCollum. They'd have Dort come up, they'd have whoever come up, set a screen, and then they try to get CJ on the ball, and they just try to either go to work on him, driving by him, or shooting over the top of him. Shot over the top of him that time. This one, they get Jonas Valanciunas in the switch. This is CJ again.
I also listen, I love CJ McCollum. I think one aspect of Zion being out is he gets tasked trying to do way too much with the ball in hand. I think at this point in his career, CJ's an off-ball spot-up player. I've watched this game multiple times. He's trying to do too much in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. This one, another example, Jalen Williams just fighting over the top of everything. Goes around the screen, rescreen. Nope. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure I'm on my hip. That's it. Another one coming down next. Just bullies Trey Murphy to the basket.
Doesn't always have to be pretty, Sam. Just got to get the ball in the basket.
Flexes. Gets through another action. Blows up that dribble handoff entirely. Lou Dort got all of the attention in this game for his defense on Brandon Ingram particularly. I thought Jalen Williams was better, to be honest. He blew up everything early in this game, it felt like to me, that they tried to do with Brandon. He gets called for a ticky-tack foul there, but it sets an intent, I feel like, when that's the case. This
is a strong move.
Just
That's tough.
Physical, strong, getting past them like it's nothing. Block, catches. Now we're going again.
Great find. Great run by Isaiah Joe.
Great run to the corner by Isaiah Joe. Great find. Can see him on screen here.
This drives me crazy. I realize I'm being an old man here. It drives me crazy they interview players during the middle of the game. I would refuse if I was a player.
Yeah, you're just very old. It's fine.
Thank you. I know. I'm sorry.
This one I wanted to call out because look at how this starts. This is a fun set. First set of the third or fourth quarter, obviously. He's guarding, I believe, Trey Murphy to start this possession. Or no, he's guarding, is that CJ?
I think that's CJ, and then he's going to switch on to Trey Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
he guards CJ to start the possession, comes up, recognizes what's happening at the last second, does a full turn, goes and gets it. Just ridiculous. And then he's going to lead the break again. Bucket. It's just, this guy was so ready for the assignment in the playoffs from day one. I just want to say we called this. Like, look at him shoot this ball out there to the corner.
Yep.
We knew that this guy's game translates perfectly to the playoffs. Everything we're seeing here in terms of like being able to like handle the ball, defend at a super high level, defend perimeter players at a really high level. This is why like I got really excited about him and thought like this guy is like the guy I would take over Paulo. And I got a lot of shit for it, both from like NBA people and not, but like I'm taking this guy. This guy is sick.
Yeah, I feel like we did take some heat after one of those episodes when we really showed him a bunch of love. Like he, I was like, I don't know. He's pretty good.
He's just the best player on the court in a playoff game. Like, give me that guy every single time. Jalen Williams was sick. The other guy that we wanted to talk about here was Dort. This will be more of a quick defensive highlight clip that we run through. Just a sick defender in this game. Again, Dort on Ingram this time. Just look at him like bodying, being physical.
So physical.
Blows that up again. Gets the strip. It's a foul, but like you're blowing it all up the whole time. Again, physical, right in his body. Forces the block. Look at this. Just scrambling everywhere. Chases back to Ingram. Closes out on balance.
That's a ridiculous closeout, Sam.
That's an absurd closeout. What are we doing? What are we doing? Are you kidding me? It's absurd from Lou Dort. Next. Again, just bodies up. Ingram can't go anywhere on him. Just so strong through the chest. So physical.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly
like, that's the big thing. He's just so tough, so strong through the chest. Again, like, good luck. Gets over the top of the screen, gets back in the play. Like, how in the world do you score on this guy? He is a monster on defense. Again, now this is with 2 minutes left.
Takes the charge,
draws it. Just an unbelievable player.
And the thing with I remember I looked in my notes, and one of the reasons I wanted and needed to have him on one of my all defensive teams whenever we did that was I just had it like how frustrated he had made KD in a game that I had watched. And it's like, if you can frustrate KD in that way, you're doing something right. So he's really good, but he finds a way to just like that one you showed where he got called for a foul, that wears on an offensive player when they slap at you and you fall to the ground and then you get up and they're right back there again. Like that just wears on a guy over time.
So where do we go from here in this series? Because I thought that was a tight game.
Yeah.
I can see a world where if Zion comes back, this is a great series. This is not just like a good series. This is an unbelievable series. I don't know if the Pelicans have enough offensive creation firepower against J-Dub, Lou Dort. Cason Wallace, I thought was great in this game. Like I was just blown away by what they did at the perimeter on the point of attack defensively. I just think it's going to be really, really hard for New Orleans to like get into any sort of actions at a super high level.
I'm definitely giving the Pelicans a game without Zion. If Zion comes back, let's say for starting game 3, Sam, this is one I could see go like 6 or 7. If he goes, I didn't expect the Pelicans to keep it as close as what they did. I know you talked about I thought Najee Marshall had some good defensive possessions in this game. I'm kind of a Najee Marshall fan. I love Jose Alvarado. I brought that up last time. For the Pelicans, is where does the scoring come from? If Zion doesn't come back, can Brandon Ingram figure it out, right? Was that a learning experience in game 1? Is he able to pinpoint some ways to get, can he have better off-ball relocation? Can he get some cuts? Can he go get an offensive rebound and a putback and get himself going a little bit? And how much can they dominate the Thunder on the boards? They had 18 offensive rebounds did the Pelicans in game 1, 9 from Valanciunas. So can they dominate them there? And then can they get a big Brandon Ingram game? Can they get 3 threes from Jose Alvarado or, whoever? Can they get one of those games? I'm giving the Pelicans at least one if Zion comes back more. But if not, that's probably it. And that's more about my respect for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. How about Dagnall playing 11 dudes in the first game of a playoffs when everybody else shortens their rotation to 7? And he's like, no. We're going to play 11 like always.
That's what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, Alvarado, I thought was like really effective in the minutes that he
I
gave
love Jose
them.
Alvarado, man. Like he legit might be my favorite player in the NBA. Like he changes. I don't know any other way to say it. He changes the energy of the game when he steps on the floor.
Trey Murphy was great in this game too. I thought
Trey,
knocked down shots. I loved the way that they started to play off of his spacing, right? Like they had him like run like a sick. I actually will pull this up. I loved this action. They ran like a twirl action for Trey, like coming off of like it could have been like a couple of pin downs, and then it was like a counter after he'd made a couple. So this is it. So they're going to come down, acting like it's going to be like a couple of pin downs coming up for Trey to be able to knock this down. Then he just twirls off the first one, catches the pass, dunk.
Yep.
I like those are just like the counters that I really like. I think those are really, really smart ideas. This one counter steps to the basket and drills it. Trey Murphy was great in this game. He was really, really good. Steps out, drills this like 27-foot three. Yeah. Trey was great in this game. They need more of that because they need more guys who can score.
Yep.
They need more guys who can score.
Yep.
That's all I've got on that game. I think I would take Oklahoma City in 5 or 6 right now, pretty comfortably, but we will see. Okay. Last series that we want to talk about and just touch on briefly. Orlando and Cleveland. Cleveland is up 2-0. I haven't really thought either of these games looked great at all for Orlando. They just don't have any answers offensively because they are getting nothing from their guards. Suggs struggled with his efficiency in the first game and then got hurt in the second game.
That was
came
scary.
Back in the second half.
I was so glad to see him come back. That was scary looking.
Came back in the second half, which was great. The problem is they're not getting anything from anybody else. Like I tweeted after that game, like my reaction to that is like Anthony Black can't be worse than this.
Yeah.
Like what they're getting from Fultz, from Ingles, from any of those guys off the bench,
Cole
there's
Anthony.
just like there's no creation there whatsoever. It just feels like such an issue for them moving forward. And like, I just don't know how they fix that this series because they're just up against a really bad matchup for them. It feels like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving this one 5 at best. I didn't have this pegged as a sweep going into the series. I thought the Cavaliers would probably win, but I didn't see it being kind of this one-sided. It seemed that way pretty strongly so far. We broke down Evan Mobley after game 1, right? He had another game offensively where he 1 of 4 from 3, which I like seeing. He shot 4 threes, Sam, but only made 1, but he had 17 points. Jarrett Allen has been awesome all year, continues that. Donovan Mitchell is going to be the best player on the floor every game in the series. I might give the Magic 1 at home and just, out of respect to them and Jamal Mosley, but I think this one is in 5 at best.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about this Dallas Mavs series now that Kawhi's back. We'll talk about that probably on Thursday night when we do games as well. All right. Do we have time to do a little bit of draft stuff?
No, yeah, we're good. Let's do it.
Okay. So I put out a top 100 board. I will pull that up for the screen as we're going. And the project we're going to do here is Bryce is going to ask me questions about my top 100 board as we go through it.
Yep.
So I will pull that up as we're talking. Have it up on the screen. And we can talk through all of this. So, Bryce, give me question number 1.
Question number 1
on my top 100.
Sam, how many players are in play at number 1 overall when you factor in the potential teams to land this selection? Essentially, Sam, you have your top 100 here. Where would your tier break be if you put in tiers?
Oh God. If I put in tiers, I would have it after the top 2, I think right now with Sar and Topic.
Okay.
I think those are the 2 guys that I look at that have like the most chance, I guess, to like hit some sort of star upside. But I don't feel great about that happening either. I would say for me, the tier break would be at 2, and they would both be tier 3 prospects. Or maybe, yeah, like I think they'd be tier 3 compared to my normal board. Like I would have them below the class of, Brandon Miller, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore that I had last year. So yeah, no, like they'd both be tier 3s, and then everybody else would be like a tier 4 guy. So, Castle, Shepard, Klingon, Modest, Holland, Rizachet. You asked the question, how many guys do I think are in play to go number 1?
Yes. Yeah. I would
say,
because if Charlotte gets number 1, they're probably not taking Sar or Topic, right?
I don't think they would take Topic. I would be open to hearing out their thoughts on Sar.
Let's just say they think Mark Williams is the future and he's healthy and all of that. So
yeah,
you would break that tier and there's other options in play, essentially, is my question.
For them, I would. Yeah,
okay.
I think I would. For teams, though, like this is a eye of the beholder draft.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no strong lean across the teams and like personnel people that I talk to about who is number 1, who is 5th, who's whatever. There's not really like a huge tier break here for those teams. And the tiers are different for teams, right?
Sure.
Like some people have Rizachet like at number 1, and I have him a little bit lower because his last month has been horrendous.
It's been bad.
Yeah. So really, really, really tough, I think.
Okay. Top 10. So just your top 10 players. So we're cutting this off at Rob Dillingham. You can't use Connect. You can't use Jared McCain. We're doing top 10 superlatives, Sam. Biggest defensive impact overall in your top 10. Which one of these guys will have the biggest defensive impact overall?
I would say just among the top 10 guys, Alex Sar.
Okay.
Long-term Alex Sar.
Over sure. Donovan Klingon?
Yes, because I think that Sar will be impactful in playoff situations, has a better chance to be impactful in playoff situations.
Love it. Okay. In your top 10 only, best perimeter defender.
For me, I think it's probably Steph Castle.
Yep.
I think Steph is fantastic on defense. I've seen some people like question it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, like saying he's just like an okay defender or like a good defender, not like a great defender. I think he's a great defender.
Interesting.
He is super physical. He's strong. He's long. You can give him different assignments. Like he chased around Baylor Shireman. He dealt with Mark Sears as like a, approximate college Jalen Brunson type, right? He can deal with, more physical wings that you put him on. He can deal with longer.
I like Desmond Claude. Desmond Claude's game sometimes like he's a big, strong, like mid and Stephon Castle neutralized a lot of what he did at times. So I'm kind of with you on that. I'm surprised that people question it as much.
Yeah, I think he's really, really, really good on defense. I think he's really good on defense.
Okay, we're staying in the same area here. Highest upside as a scorer.
It's probably Dillingham purely as a scorer. I just think that there are some like such significant flaws everywhere else that it's going to be hard for him to like win like be a part of like winning lineups.
Sure. Who would be number 2 then?
Probably Topic for me,
Okay.
in terms of just like being able to create his shot and like play out of ball screens and like get to floaters and get to like different if the shot comes along, I think the upside is probably Topic.
Okay. I would have had Ron Holland, I think, number 2. Biggest potential. I hate doing this one because it is kind of negative, but biggest potential to not carve out a role in the NBA. So who do you look at in your top 10 and go, man, if this goes south, I am kind of worried?
It is probably, oh man. I guess I would say Cody Williams.
Yep.
If only because I think he was an okay defender this year. And he also is like a questionable shooter. Castle has like the ability to fall back on his defense and like his processing and everything. I think Castle's higher level in those respects than Cody is. Man, honestly, like a lot of these guys, like there's real bust, like Modest, like there's bust potential for sure. I think that he'll probably shoot it well enough to where he's okay. But like even like Holland, I think like if
Agreed. Yeah.
you know, the shooting doesn't come along and like he's like super foul prone and everything with his competitiveness, like Riza Shea, like he might not be able to.
If he doesn't shoot it, what is Riza Shea offensively, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, like real question, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, but like serious bust potential for a lot of these guys.
Let's scroll down. Let's get outside the top 10 now. I think the rest of my questions get us outside of the top 10. This is one of the very like specific. Why so high on Kyle Filipowski?
Yeah, so I think that he can defend is why. I think he's actually like a really good defensive basketball player. At least he was in college. Like I understand the fact that people look at him as like a slow, unathletic white guy who, you know, can't move his feet well enough and everything. I actually think he moves his feet pretty well. I think that he can deal with switches like on the perimeter at a pretty reasonable level. I think that, you know, rim protection is not ideal for him, but he's big. He's like 6'11", 7 foot, and is at least like a big body on the interior there. And on top of it, like, what do we talk about all the time in terms of a value proposition for bigs? Can you dribble, pass, shoot?
Yep.
Having dribble, pass, shoot ability is very difficult to find. Kyle Filipowski can dribble, pass, and shoot. Like, I feel very confident he can pass on the move. I know that he can dribble and like handle the ball at a higher level than most bigs, and I think he will shoot it. Like, I am a bigger believer, I guess, in Flip than what a lot of people are, because I see him kind of down the board for a lot of people, and I just like don't agree with that.
I mean, I think of your top 20 names here, even going further, I think that's the one that stands out as the most different than a lot of the boards I look at. I think a lot of people
Really?
Yeah, I think most people's top 10, 11 are very similar in terms of the name, whether it's the order or not. I think those are the names. I see a lot of boards now where McCain is in the back end of the lottery, Collier's there, Carter, Saloon, De Silva's moved in, like Edie. I feel like a lot. Filipowski is a name where I feel like when I look at other people's, I see a lot more in the 20s than I do in the teens.
Yeah, like think about like Oklahoma City, right?
Oh, 100%.
Everything we talk about with Oklahoma City is they need dribble, pass, shoot. They need bigs who can do all three things, right? Kyle Filipowski can do all three of those things at a really high level. It is harder to find those guys than what people think, like way harder. There's a reason that Kelly Olynyk, despite being like a relatively deficient defender throughout the course of his career, has been really, really valuable. There's a reason, let's say that like the worst case scenario happens for Flip. Like Mo Wagner is still really valuable in today's NBA.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, Flip is really good.
No, this is one we agree on in terms of where we have him. I just have seen a lot of people not have him as high. Okay. We're going to keep scrolling down. So I think you have this guy at the end of the first. Yep. We can stop right there. Talk to me about AJ Johnson. Why is he staying in this draft? Should he stay? Okay. And what does this mean for his draft position? So talk to me about AJ.
This is a pure bet. I don't know if he's in this draft or not. We'll find out. He's certainly going to declare, but there are a number of, choices that he could make. Like I'm sure Illawarra would be happy to have him back. Right. So I saw AJ Johnson work out. And to me, when I see guys work out, I'm trying to figure out like how smooth they are, how fluid they are, how capable they are of just getting to spots on the court in like minimal movements and with like somewhat like explosive movements, right? Like stop-starty stuff. To me, the biggest problem with AJ Johnson this year was the physical part of it.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the skill side. It had nothing to do with like where he is as a shooter. The people that were around him, I think, made a decision to put him in a professional league before he was ready for it. And that was a mistake, in my opinion. But when I watch him, I kind of get like Anthony Simons-y kind of vibes in terms of being able to create your shot at a really high level. He is a very comfortable ball handler. He is very, very capable of getting to step backs from different footworks. He gets into a shot from different footworks. I think he's going to be a major project. He can't play in the NBA for 2 years, probably, as his body develops. He's like 170 pounds right now, right? But the other piece of it that I wrote about, I don't think he's like 6'5", which is what he was listed at, like coming into the year. I saw him stand next to Ron Holland. Ron Holland is listed wherever, right? Between 6'6" and 6'8". He's probably 6'7.5" in shoes. He is just as tall as Ron Holland.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Okay. Nice.
AJ Johnson is probably going to measure 6'7" in shoes.
Nice. Yep.
And in this draft, particularly, it's very hard to find any sort of upside swing.
Yeah.
I like what I saw enough from AJ Johnson. Also, on defense late in the year for Illawarra, if you go back and you watch him play defense over like probably the back third of his season, he was actually like really good. I'm not saying he was good for a young player. He was good on defense for Illawarra late in the season. So you combine the fact that I think he's closer to 6'7" now. He was already pretty good defensively late in the year in a professional league. And I think there's like real offensive upside. There are just a lot more outs with him being like real wing size than there were if we thought he was like a combo guard.
No, I remember the first games I watched of him, like he had a certain amount of juice that just that definitely stood out on film. So, all right. So speaking of size, you have 6 what I would call quote unquote small guards in the top 30, and you have 6 more between 31 and 60. That's 12 in the top 60. Do you think 12 quote unquote small guards? And I think what I tried to do was like 6'3" or smaller. Like I did count Tristan Newton in that just because he is skinny. Do you think that many small guards can actually get drafted this year? I guess it's 58 picks, but do you think that many small guards will actually get picked?
So let's run through. KJ Simpson, we'll see what KJ Simpson does in terms of if he's in this draft or not, right? Like if I was him, I would portal and like set myself up for success and make sure that I have outs, right? Mark Sears, we will see if he's in this draft. I'm not 100% convinced of that quite yet.
I counted AJ, but you at 6'5", that probably wasn't fair. But
yeah, AJ is at least 6'4", so he doesn't really fit into this totally. Jamal Shed, I think Jamal Shed gets drafted. I will just say 3. That point blank.
Trey Alexander is skinny.
So if you counted Trey Alexander, like I'm kind of, everyone's assuming Trey Alexander's in this draft. Like I don't know the answer to that quite yet. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I think if he's in the draft, he gets drafted. Let's see here. Bobby Klintman, 19 feet tall in this chart. We're just going to go with 19 feet tall.
We should draft somebody should draft him.
Tyler Kolek goes in the first round. Devin Carter definitely goes in the first round. If you told me Devin Carter, by the way, goes like 12 or 14 or something in the lottery, like I would not be stunned by that. There is a lot of juice for Devin Carter in scouting circles right now. Like people look at him as a guy who can really come in and be like a useful player from day one. And they believe in the shooting to some extent, at least. Jared McCain, yes, obviously. And then Dillingham, yes, obviously. And Reed, obviously, yes. So I think I said like 8, maybe.
I say yeah, because I know whenever I went through it, I counted Collier, who's actually 6'5". So 6'3" probably wasn't the right cutoff. I feel like I had more. Oh, Cam Spencer at 6'4" is the guy I counted as well. Tristan Newton because he's skinnier.
This is a Cam Spencer forward podcast, right? We love Cam Spencer here. We've gone on multiple long diatribes on why he's great. I don't know if Cam Spencer gets drafted or not. I would draft him, but I don't know if he gets drafted or not.
Okay. Let's go to the wings. So I like the wing options in your 31 to 60 range. So you have Jalen Tyson, wing forwards, Ryan Dunn, Caravan, Justin Edwards, Cam Christie, my guy, Peyton Sanford, Tyon Grant Foster, Jurisic, McCullough, Crawford, Ingram, Bridges, Lewis. I like Malik Lewis. Do you agree? Do you think there is some quote unquote quality depth for teams that are wing forward needy in the second round?
Yeah, sure. I would say that's fair. I had Kwame Evans on this thing. Kwame is not going to be in this draft. He announced that today.
Yep.
Caravan might not be in this draft. Dunn might go in the first. Tyson might go in the first. I mean, TJ Shannon, we just don't know what's going to happen with him quite yet due to the rape case that he has in Kansas. And he needs to figure out that side of it. Justin Edwards, interesting project for sure. I don't know if Cam Christie is going to be in this draft. Peyton Sanford, really interesting potential second rounder to me. Real shooter. Like I'm a believer in that at a high level. If you told me he like blew up and skyrocketed, that would not stun me at all. Here's what I'm going to say, Sam. I don't think people realize how good of a shooter he is yet, and I think they'll find out eventually. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Tyon Grant Foster has, he's going to have to figure out what's going on with the heart issue that he had at DePaul. If you told me, like, I don't know what's going to happen with him, I guess I will say. I would guess here. I would guess Tyon Grant Foster goes undrafted. Yeah, at the end of the day, just because of the heart concern. Nikola Jurisic has been great recently. Yeah, I noticed for Mega. I kind of had written him off a little bit, and then when I went through your board, I was like, okay, I need to get this guy back on my board and dive back into it a little bit. Yep. Kevin McCullough. I'm guessing McCullough goes in the second round. People have kind of questioned why I have McCullough so low. He's never gotten through a full season healthy for 5 years. Can he shoot? We have no idea if he can shoot. I frankly think he probably can't shoot, to be honest with you. And again, seriously, injuries are a real factor with him. Ankle, back, you name it. He's had problems with it. That's why McCullough is so low for me. Yep. It's all the injuries. So that's actually probably the name, Sam, that your board is most different than most. Almost every mock draft or big board I see has Kevin McCullough as a first rounder. Yeah, he's I'm sorry. I really hope he's healthy and can get through a season, but we just truly have no evidence of that at this point. And it's we have evidence in the other direction, unfortunately, as well. So I get it. I understand why people like him. Yeah. But to me, I would not want to take the injury risk. Yep. Okay. I got 3 more for you.
Let's scroll to your 81 to 100 range.
Okay.
Who do you believe in this range has the best chance of rising during the pre-draft process and actually getting drafted?
Yeah, great question. So,
by the way, Hanson
like,
Yang is one of my favorite players in the draft. Just wanted to throw that out.
and I don't know if he's even going to be in the draft. By
I
the way.
know.
I would
I
kinda
know.
guess
I
that
know.
he
I know.
might not
but
be.
I love his game.
I think I would go Jalen Wells, maybe.
Okay.
6'8" shooter who was pretty okay on defense this year at Washington State. I mean, like, look, I don't think Ulrich Chumchi is very good. I am very skeptical that you could put him. I don't know if he would start for a high major college team next year. In fact, I don't think he would start for a high major college team, I think is actually what I would say.
Okay.
So you look at the names around him. I get that there's like real upside there, but like, are you really going to take that like flyer risk on this whole thing? I just don't. I'm not a Chumchi guy. He's the name there. He's probably the highest profile one that would have the chance to get drafted, I guess.
Yep. Okay. Let's scroll back up to 21 to 40.
Yes.
Give me the name in this range, and you've kind of thrown out some names already that you think has the highest likelihood not to stay in the draft. So of these guys, who do you think is most likely to not stay in and go back to school?
I don't know if I want to answer that.
Okay, fair enough. I wondered if maybe that was if that would get convoluted a little bit.
Well, honestly, like, I think all these guys are kind of in. Like, it feels like Bub Carrington is like in, based on his statements, not on my reporting. Feels like Yves Missy. Have we gotten Missy report yet? I feel like we did.
We did.
Yeah. Tyler Smith, he'll go. Like, there's no reason for him not to. Bobby Clintman will go. Holmes will go. Shireman is a senior. He has to go. I mean, like, by process of elimination here, I guess Hunter Salas.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. Last one. A two-part question. Over the past month or so, who have been your biggest risers? And then also after you give us those, who have been your biggest fallers? Like who's moved up the most and then who's fallen the most for you?
I would say I probably just like embraced Devin Carter and Jared McCain more. Like, those were two guys that I've been high on throughout the year. And I was just like, look, if I'm building a board, like, I would have these guys higher at the end of the day. I think Tristan Da Silva is a name that like people look at and say that's got to be a riser. He's probably only jumped like 7 or 8 spots on my board, like maybe less than that, because like I've had him as a first rounder the whole year. So like I don't know. These questions are always hard because like I tend not to be as like jumpy with this stuff as other. Maybe Baylor Shireman. Every time I ask like a Big East coach or a Big East player who the best player in that league was this year, I feel like the answer is Baylor Shireman. And I went back and like watched the tape and I was like, okay, there's a lot here that actually translates. He's a killer rebounder. Yes, he is a very real shooter.
He can pass a little bit.
Can pass it a little bit. Like, he's not Pods, but he's not as athletic and like, you know, scrappy and weird as Pods is in terms of his game. But he has bigger some of that. Though. He's bigger. Yeah. He has some of that there though. And he has like a 7-foot wingspan too, I think. Like, he was pretty close to that when he got measured last time.
Yeah, no, I like Baylor Shireman. I feel like that's another guy. I mean, I'll see boards where he's not even on it. And you know, this is a kid that shot, you know, his last 2 years at South Dakota State, Sam, 44% from 3 and 47% from 3. Yeah, I mean, crazy. In his career in college basketball, 900 3-point attempts, 39%, and he's an 82% free throw shooter. I think Baylor Shireman can really shoot the basketball. And like you say, he has good size and can do these other things. I think he should get drafted. So anybody that just throughout, even if it's got to go a little bigger. Like I know Justin Edwards is like one of the biggest names that was way high.
Yeah, I
early
mean,
in the
he
year.
plummeted for
Yeah.
sure. I would say like Oso probably like dropped a good amount for me throughout the year because just the physicality was like a serious issue for him, it felt like to me. And the guys that tend to be good in that archetype tend to be like ass kickers, right? Sure. Domantas Sabonis, like Nikola Vucevic was physical when he was in his prime, right? Jokic, you know, guys that think the game at a super high level and like are super wildly creative and things like that. I feel like Oso struggled with the physicality piece of it a little bit more. Isaiah Crawford bumped up quite a bit. I went back and like watched a few Louisiana Tech games, watched every shot that he took this year off the catch because I wanted to get a feel for like the shot off the catch. He is awesome on defense. He is 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. He really, really can defend at a super high level. I was really impressed with him. One guy I realized that like I didn't rank and should have, and this isn't like a riser or anything, but like just a guy I believe in. Like Ben Henschel is still theoretically eligible for this draft.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would still like, I believe Ben Henschel is going to play in the NBA. I know that he played, I think it was like 90 minutes this year in the NBL for Perth because they were a top 2 team in the league and he was very skinny, right? And they just didn't need shot creation. But I'm a believer. Like I think he's going to play in the NBA, and it's, you know, maybe it's not this year, maybe it's sometime down the road, but I am a believer in Ben Henschel.
One name I noticed, Harrison Ingram. Like I feel like that wasn't a name that I feel like Harrison Ingram did well for himself this year. No.
Yeah, Harrison Ingram helped himself for sure this year. If we're looking like big picture in terms of guys that like jumped up the board, I mean, Topic is like the big name probably. He was seen as a, you know, let's see where this goes guy coming into the year, and he'll probably go in the top 6 or 7. Reed Shepherd obviously is the big name that spiked along with Topic. Dillingham really helped himself this year. Like he was seen as maybe a 2 and done guy coming into the time at Kentucky. Connect certainly helped himself this year in a big way. You know, Devin Carter's a guy that I had like as a top 60 guy last year. I think people forget that, and he decided to go back, but he helped himself for sure. Johnny Furphy came from way off the radar to be a potential first round pick. Furphy might be the guy that like I could see as a potential returner for what it's worth.
Okay.
Because you asked like the 21.
I said 20. Yeah. I'd stay from the top 20, but yeah.
And I don't know what Johnny's gonna do like one way or another, to be clear, but if he ended up like deciding to go back, that wouldn't blow my mind, I don't think.
All right. I ended up with 9, which is a really random number, but that was all the ones I came up with.
Yeah, we got through 9 in like 22 minutes. So that's pretty good for us.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I love it. All right, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, so at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, Detroit Pistons content, NBA content, NBA draft content, and then you can check out scouting reports and stuff like that over, and game breakdowns, all of that. If you follow on Twitter or over on the Substack, the Pistons Pulse podcast, if you want Detroit Pistons specific content. We actually did an NBA draft one, so if you want to check that out, it was essentially our top 10 players, me and my co-host Amari Sankofa II. It was a little Piston specific, but just talking these guys in general. So if you want some draft content, we had it on our most recent episode. Other than that, Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecenie.
Go over there, go support Bryce, go to The Athletic, keep me employed over there. We just went through that big board. That is probably the only thing that I will have like for this week. Last week, wrote like a quick thing on Edie today, but like as guys declare, I might have some stuff, but other than that, I would say just go over there and I'll have some things up at some point as I get through the draft guide. But we will be back on Thursday night, probably, Bryce.
Yeah, I can do that. I put it in my calendar when you said it, so we should be good.
Yeah, to do some more NBA playoff stuff. And then now that these series like maybe have started to like take some shape, we might not dive as deep as we have, and maybe we'll try and do some like off-season previews
Offseason.
and
Yeah, we
things
gotta
like
start
that
catching.
too.
Yeah, we'll get behind if we don't get those because we're about to have 8 teams over the next week and a half or so.
Yeah, and then we have to do draft stuff at some point too. So this is that time of year where there's just a crazy amount of things happening across the board. So for Bryce Simon, I'm Sam Vecenie. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.